Today I will have the pleasure to speak to Gosia Bobrowska-Jarząbek, Managing Partner and Co-founder at Resource Partners. Hello Gosia, thank you for joining our interview series.
Pleasure is mine.
And just jumping immediately into the first question, I would like to relate to the subject that is often discussed, whereas people should or shouldn't or are or aren't pushed to the limit during the interview process. If you think as your experience as a candidate maybe and also as a hiring manager, what is your experience here in this area?
I personally try not to push to the limits because I'm interested to see the true and real picture of the person I'm interviewing, not necessarily a stressed version of that person. But I do remember from, I believe, the first ever interview for job I've done myself when I was pushed to the limits. I was at the time at a student exchange in Germany and decided to apply for internship to fully complete the program I was taking. And I always dreamed about the job as a consultant, so I did choose to apply to McKinsey and BCG at the time. And McKinsey was my first interview. And I got asked a question about a profitability of the insurance product. I was 22, have never bought insurance myself, and my German knowledge of insurance-related vocabulary was limited to the word insurance itself. So I was really pushed to the limit. Obviously, I did not get the job. But in result, I could also conclude one advice for the future, also for the other candidates, was not to give up, because I eventually, after coming back to Poland, did apply to Polish office, where I got interviewed in my mother tongue, so the kind of vocabulary limits were not pushing to the limit myself. And I did got the job and ended up working for 5 years in McKinsey and Company. So if you really want something, don't give up, yeah? And the first kind of failure doesn't mean that it's, the end of the world.
I see. And if you are a hiring manager now, you also rather try not to push, but is it somehow that you see still candidates feeling like they are pushed to the limit during interviews that you do, or you think they feel comfortable?
Obviously an interview is a stressful experience, so I can't really speak for how they perceive that. But because I believe that being authentic is the most important part, because you can fake everything for the time of the interview, you can't fake it for the job. So also on my end, I am myself at the interviews, and I don't create something that would not be a natural situation for the candidates. So I do present myself as, as kind of the future supervisor from the same angle I would be talking to them on an everyday basis. And because of that, I don't ask really questions that, would be difficult for them to answer. I think it's better to test the candidate and his actual capabilities when he feels kind of in his comfort zone at the interview. And I think it's better for kind of the both sides to be tested in the real environment rather than in somehow unreal environment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, for me, this subject is a little bit related to the next question that I would have, and it's a question about the topic that is currently very much discussed, which is diversity and inclusion, especially within recruitment processes, and for senior role, maybe even more, because we know that the number of diverse management teams is rather still not really as it should be. So, in this context, also a little bit about pushing to the limit maybe, do you have any good experiences you can share, like best practices that you use, or maybe your company, organizations that you have been working with, how to avoid that this diversity is missed, or the very well-known unconscious bias is somehow in the recruitment process? Have you got any good experiences on that to share with us?
As you, Szymon, know, diversity is at my heart. Being one of few female representatives in the private equity industry, I'm also very active at the Level 20 initiative, as we believe that a lot of work needs to be done to increase the kind of diversity in gender-wise in this particular industry. And myself, during my career, I think I was always recruited to male-only environments or male-dominated environments. So I was always kind of on the other side of kind of the diversity-biased interviews. It is a difficult topic, I must say. So I think from the recruitment processes I perform, for me, the important part is kind of the balance at the pipeline. So I do have a careful look on kind of my shortlists, and I make sure that I have candidates from many diverse backgrounds, gender-wise, but not only, also kind of experience-wise, presented to me as the shortlist. And obviously myself, being a female, it's easier for me to later kind of have different thought processes than my male colleagues. So and, as such perspective, if I'm involved in interviews with my male colleagues, then we always have at least the two backgrounds represented. But obviously, if I think about other situations where such kind of diverse recruiting panel is not possible, then it's certainly something difficult, because many of those biases are just unconscious. We unfortunately have a bias of looking for people who are like us. And it's something that the hiring managers or people who are running the interviews have to be very conscious about. And kind of at every time when they have a preference towards a certain candidate more than to the other one, they have to ask themselves and challenge themselves internally, whether that's because of merit-driven examples or because of the unconscious biases.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Now, coming to another topic, maybe thinking about a group of people that will listen to us, and among them there will be probably many of a bit of more junior people or aspiring managers or consultants or partners. If you would just think about giving them an advice, and especially what is my topic that I very much like to discuss always, which is not such an obvious topic, is preparation for an interview. Many people say they very duly prepare. The others say it's not possible to be prepared for an interview. Of course, in some certain hard fact cases, yes, but you cannot be prepared for anything. How do you see this? I mean, and both as a hiring manager, how you see yourself preparing, but also how do you like your candidates being prepared for interviews with you? Or maybe you don't want them to be prepared, I don't know.
No, I think, so for me the most important argument is that hiring process is a two-way road, yeah? So it's for me to choose the best candidate, but I also want my candidate to make a very thorough decision whether he wants to join my organization for which I'm hiring, yeah? Because I think it's not about winning an interview. It's about creating a future, many years of cooperation that both sides would be comfortable with. So obviously for me, if the candidate comes prepared, knowing what position I'm looking for, what type of company we are, and what type of company is the portfolio company I'm hiring for, that shows that he is involved in this process himself. Yeah, so it's not that he just comes to the interview because it may end up be an opportunity, but he just treats me seriously. So obviously I do ask questions that verify that. Yeah? My favorite one is, of course, what are the questions you want to ask about the role? Because that shows kind of the in-depth preparation done before. But on the other hand, in terms of many times you could hear, know your audience, prepare for what the audience wants to hear. That's not exactly my way of thinking, yeah? Because as mentioned before, it's not about winning the interview, it's not about faking yourself for the interview, it's about testing both ways, whether you are a good fit for that role.
And if the role is a good fit for you, so
exactly, and if the role is good fit for you, so I'd rather have the candidate really speak from his personal views or from his experiences and for how he really sees that particular job, rather than telling me what I want to hear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you would, this is maybe an additional thing connected to this. Now, imagine that you have a situation which is, of course, a little bit of theoretical, but let's see it. That you have two almost identical candidates that really tick all the boxes, everything is fine, they have all the knowledge that you need and they are having the background experience, but what would be the secret ingredient in your personal case not just general, but really your preference as you, that you would then have probably chosen, let's say, picking up one of these theoretically identical people. What would be the difference between them that would make you choose that one and not the other one?
It may sound like a cliche, but it is the passion. Yeah. So if somebody is passionate about what he does and about that particular job, he really wants it because he sees exactly how it fits into his career plan, for example, his or her career plan. That's something that's the most convincing to me because those people are just achieving more if they are really well motivated. Yeah. So it will be the passion and motivation, rather than some hard skills, because many of the hard skills can be coached and improved. But if you're not passionate about what you do, that cannot be coached or improved that easily.
And do you have any very specific way how to test the passion, or you just see it from the interview, or is there anything that you just can, like a hint, like a secret hint for another recruiter, how to find out if this is a passionate person?
I think when people are passionate about something, they start speaking faster.
Yes.
And you can see the emotions on their face. So,
Okay.
I mean, it's maybe not something that you can measure, but it's something that's quite visible when you see it.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was really nice to talk to.
You're welcome.